Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
And I am Commander Kongs, and it's a week. It's a Trek week, Stu. I don't know if you've seen the news, the many news, because that's this week.
I was there yesterday when it happened. The Vulcans landed. First contact day. Yeah.
Well,
No, we're not talking about that news?
Well, that's the future news, but we all knew that news. It's not news anymore, really.
Oh. Okay. So what are you talking about specifically?
3 trailers and a story reveal. Quite a lot.
Yeah, well, we could talk about that. Sure.
Picard Season 2, the teaser came out, not a full trailer, but the teaser, since they're filming only recently, and we're going to do a brief, right now, re-reaction of it, to see what we think, and how it's gone back, and how it's kind of mulled over in our brains, before we do other reviews of the other trailers and such later on down the week. So, Stuart, what's your final big overall thoughts of that teaser?
As I've kind of said all along with all these new things, very cautiously optimistic. It is very nice to get the touchstones that we do in that trailer. There seem to be pandering to the fans a little bit, and that's fine because that's what they need to do, unfortunately. But I don't know if it's going to carry over to the actual show. There's a lot to look at and some interesting little tidbits in that trailer that we need to talk about. What did you think?
When we did do the full reaction, if you want to see like a very detailed view, go back and watch the live from yesterday. This is more the general thoughts. That was the big detailed one. I mean, the season 1 trailer of Picard did not represent the season 1 of Picard, and so this is obviously abstract, and I think it was clearly filmed to be a trailer, whereas the Lower Decks and Discovery trailers are clearly just actually made from production material. This is obviously filmed for. Not necessarily a bad thing, just I'm glad we got something for sure. But I liked it. We said in the live that the vibe is very different. Obviously, post Picard season 1, he is literally a different man, and that hopefully will bring that a certain level of revival, refresh, and obviously come to terms with the Data situation, that weight from his soul, as it were. And so just the entire vibe from the 1 minute is more positive, more fresh, more open, more Picard looking, feeling, sounding, with the visuals, the art design, the elements in his ready room or his desk stuff. Or everything is a lot of subtle stuff, but I picked up on it, and hopefully that shows. We've got a new showrunner, which means a new direction, because the other one left, brand new one coming in, and hopefully that will be the show that makes more sense, is more cohesive, and is more positive, because Trek is fundamentally a positive thing, and season 1 is not a fundamentally positive thing, and not a fundamentally well-written thing either.
Well, this season has a lot of promise for multiple reasons. I mean, we've got Q's coming back, which is fantastic. Anything's possible. We got the sands in the hourglass going backwards, and then the whole discussion of time and choices not made, decisions not made. And that's interesting because it has a tapestry feel to it, like
yes,
the what ifs,
yep.
what ifs. And we also got the broken Bajoran tablet, the tablet of the emissary, which that's what it looks like. The one that Cisco broke to unleash the Pa Wraith thing. So interesting. Like you're talking about wormhole prophets, Q, time, alternate realities, perhaps.
Heavy Stargazer reference, an Enterprise D reference. And these aren't just for the sake of it. They're there as heavy visuals.
There's a lot there to unpack. I think it's visually dense as far as, and auditory as well, with that voiceover of the choices not made, which is quite interesting. I kind of missed that the first time, but on rewatching, there's a lot of potential coming out for this season. So I'm just hoping it lives up to it. That's all I can say, really.
It also feels incredibly standalone. This sense, originally with Picard saying we've got a 3-year storyline, and then at the end of season 1 it all feels almost entirely wrapped up. This feels entirely separate, as if, just like Discovery season 3, they rebooted the show again, and it was excellent, well done, as in a good style of reboot. This just feels like we're going to ignore everything we've done, take the bits that worked, Laris, etc., some of the few elements, and completely ignore everything else because a lot of it just didn't work. But yeah, certainly time. And I watched, since our live, lots of the interview material released for First Contact Day, and Patrick, he did an interview with Will Wheaton, and then John Delancey popped in, and it was really interesting to see. He definitely was giving a bit more away than I think CBS would have wanted, because he was he actually said something, and politicians answer a question by not answering the question. He actually answered the question by actually saying something, but it's a vague-ary. And so his big note was, you're going to see a time, an era you have never seen before. Like, the way he said it was very much, you're going to see a time period that's never been explored before. Like, he elaborated to a time, and it's like, oh, well, I mean, obviously time travel is going to be an element, given the fact that that was the entire premise of the trailer. But, you know, is seeing, and this is one thing I saw right from the get-go, that, yeah, we're going to see him go back into the Stargazer, which, yes, we've seen before in abstract, or very abstract. We've never really seen his time on the Stargazer, and even being, like, second in command, or I think it was a pilot, wasn't he, or something, he was lower rank on the ship, then became captain from necessity, etc. It kind of leaves out the rest of the La Serena crew, though, because they feel small and somewhat meaningless. You know, who really cares about Jurati going to prison for killing a guy when Q is taking Picard back in time to visit the Stargazer? Like, the scale of these importance just radically, you know? So I'm surprised how that feels grounded in Star Trek lore, rather than Season 1, which kind of did its own higgledy-piggledy.
Incredibly interesting, and yeah, it's one of the things that a lot of people don't think about or take away from this trailer is what is going to happen with the rest of the crew, like, or the rest of the cast. We've kind of talked about it in our full discussion review, but it looks like Picard might be revitalized, re-energized, and doing things he loves, like archaeology. And with that tablet on the table, who knows? He could be, you know, Rios and them could be, you know, taking him to archaeological digs and get sucked into this adventure not against their will, but, you know, it's not something they plan to go and do necessarily. They also make a point of saying in that interview that Q shows up at like a shattering moment, and literally shattering, said Patrick Stewart. So it'll be interesting to see like what actually happens, if there's some kind of disaster, if the ship crashes or something, and Q just freezes time, pops in, and haven't seen you in a while, Captain. What's going on?
Well, I mean, very, very literally, if you want to be a very strong, and I, you know, in Tapestry, Picard was dying when he came to him, and then he was saved by Beverly and his own choices or whatever. So maybe we have some epic. See, the way Patrick was implying it, and John Delancey was implying it, because he hadn't filmed anything yet, the way he was talking, he doesn't appear right at the start of the season. So we're probably going to get like a couple of episodes of setup and leading to, yeah, you're right, if La Serena crashes and gets basically almost destroyed and he's dying, and then we get a Tapestry again, but then it's also about, you know, the trial, as I said, trial never, it's still not over, which is the classic line of humanity is always being monitored, although I'm sure Q, the continuous thought, damn, you made Data a person, now you made his, you know, cousins all slaves. Good job, guys. Good job. Thanks, Michael Chabon. Or Alex Kurtzman. Whoever's idea it was, because one of those two for sure.
With the Bajoran tablet thing, it interests me because if they're bringing in Cisco, if there's some kind of Cisco connection, I mean, the trailer should have ended with, Picard never hit me. I'm not Picard. Could you imagine that? That would be such a zinger. Because, I mean, is that the reason that Cisco was able to get a punch in on Q, because he was part Prophet?
Well, Prophet's a non-temporal entity, so if he, you know, once became Prophet, his body should always have slightly Prophet powers in some vague sense.
Yeah. Well, his mom was essentially a wormhole alien. He was kind of like a prodigal son. So if it is leading into the, you know, the Starfleet captain that became a you know, a non-corporeal being, if it's leading up to something like that, and Q comes in, I don't think Avery Brooks is coming back, unfortunately. I would love to see Cisco back in some kind of context, but it makes for an interesting storyline nonetheless. So I don't know how much of a role that tablet has, but it is quite prominent in the trailer.
And it's certainly I don't necessarily know they were able to track down the original, if it still exists, because it's quite an abstract piece of, they are quite good at selling their own items and tracking them down, but if they're to rebuild that's not by accident, etc., etc. I can imagine, though, that we may have something similar-esque, but more that he has to go to Bajor, or he has already been to Bajor, and so we get a DS9 cameo. Especially if and now we know in Discovery Season 3, they are actually using, or Season 4, sorry, they are actually using the Mandalorian-style digital walls. It's very likely Picard has one as well, and so as I said in the live, you know, recreating the promenade becomes absolutely practically easy. You do it in 3D, you do a single set piece, and now they're talking the promenade, it's better than green screen, you have a few extras, and now you've got all the set design, all the power of DS9 cameo, and fans would obviously love that, you know, and it makes sense. If he's going to Bajor, it links to Prophet, it links to him finally archaeologizing, whatever the word is, which was always one of his passions. That makes so much sense, and it would certainly be good to see. So it's kind of important to see, almost.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a fantastic storyline. Just seeing DS9 again in Picard would be great.
Because can you imagine, you know, La Serena's docked in DS9 and Picard's walking through the promenade, or his digital promenade, not in uniform, but kind of like his half uniform, and then like Kira walks up and says, "Oh, Admiral Picard," and he's like, "Hello," and it's like, "Oh my god, this is happening." Yeah, the retired Picard now do archaeology on DS9. It's like, yeah, and there's no leap there. It's a very logical, coherent storyline that would pay homage to the fans, obviously, but also bring back the actors, but also show the location, but also get production value, but also serve the narrative justice. It would be an obvious scene.
So much storytelling potential, and I just hope, as I say all the time, cautiously optimistic, hoping that they've ramped it up a bit since season 1, because unfortunately I think Picard was the worst out of all the new Treks so far, for multiple reasons, but this has a lot of potential.
And we started the year with a letdown, but Lower Decks was a blowing us away surprise, and Discovery was low expectations, high rewards, so that blew us away as well relative to its previous seasons of quality. So they are on the uptick, and Picard's not the next one coming out. It's coming out in 2022, which is kind of surprising. Maybe they're making more episodes this time, or more grand episodes, because that is a long production cycle in comparison, or as in it feels longer compared to the other ones. They've been filming a bit longer, but COVID makes it slower. But Discovery and Lower Decks this year, coming out before we know it.
Anyway, guys,
we liked it, but it was a teaser.
We did like it.
It was designed for us to like it, so that was nice, simple, gentle.
And one last thing we should probably mention is the card, the Queen at the end, which was represented with the poker game that he was playing with Data in like the first scene of season 1.
Never came back in season 1. It was
we wondered about the cards being that representing, because a lot of people speculated with Q, and then you got this dissolve in this one. So it's quite interesting, that tie-in. So I don't know what kind of part Brett's going to play in this season.
Well, he's been announced to come back, but we assume as Ericsson, or as Ija, or whoever his what's his name? I don't know. That might be the Enterprise guy. Whoever the other Sung was. There's so many Sungs. Or, as I speculated, maybe John Delancey, gives Picard the wish of bringing Brent back as Data as a human, and therefore you can actually have a human Data and play that, because it was, his lifelong ambition. That would be nice to see at least a little bit of, rather than, killing him twice. But my assumption is that playing card thing, it doesn't feel as if they remotely had a plan from season 1, season 2, and then they just had their Queen. That was one of the first things they filmed, so they could throw anything in there. It's also a dream sequence, so anything can be meaningful or meaningless. That's the great thing. So they just had that idea, but I just like the idea that the visual of that card at the end is it's disappearing away like Thanos, but really like Data did at the end of season 1, and so it's symbolically saying the end of season 1 arc as it floats away, leave playing card and Data arc. That's leaving the Q arc of season 2. But I think that's symbolically what it's doing, and it adds another transition point, which adds a coolness to the trailer.
Anyway, guys, let us know what you thought about the trailer down in the comment section. Anything you noticed, any speculation you have on the tablet or the card tie-in, let us know. We love reading them, and we love you guys engaging down there, because we have a great community. So, speaking of community, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to click notify all bell icon, and if you're able to, join us for the lives and stuff as well, because we do a lot of them, and we have, like I said, a really great community, a lot of regulars that show up, and a lot of great discussions to be had, and we do a lot of lives every week. So if you want to be part of that, consider subscribing.
But if you can't turn up, but you want to help us directly, then supporting us on Patreon is a super duper 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 way, or PayPal. Those donations make a massive difference to the show costs and what we can do in the future. And that's trekyards@hotmail.com. And of course, if you can join the lives, then super chats are the big important thing. They are most of our income, which is sad but also amazing. It means you support us directly, and we know who does and why they do and how they do, and you get to have that direct communication and direct thoughts, and often your words spark a big old conversation, and that's pretty brilliant. So thanks in advance.
That's right. So until next time, guys, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Cox. Bye,
and
guys.
the reviews never end. The discussion.